Hey guys, it's me, Trey, back with another episode of Let's Read the Bible. I hope you all are having a good day. It's been a great day for me. It just started raining here about 10 seconds ago. I'm still kind of catching. I'm still not 100% if I'm being honest with you. I felt really terrible this morning, actually. I felt a lot better yesterday than I do today. But I'm pushing through it. I'm sure I'll be fine in the next day or two. I hope you all are having a good day. I hope you all are having a blessed day. Wherever you are in the world. If you had a chance to serve in any way towards anyone, I really hope you took advantage of it and served them. Served anyone, someone you don't know, a stranger, even someone you don't like. I really think in my heart of hearts, we were put here to serve, and I really believe that we should always take advantage of those opportunities and serve one another, and just be there for one another and show each other the love that Jesus showed us when he went to the cross. Today we are in John chapter 9, but before we go into that, I want to say this one more time. It's something I said yesterday. If you live on the Carolinas, if you live on the coast, or if you live in any way, or on any spot that's going to be impacted severely by this storm, if they tell you to evacuate, get out. Your stuff, your house, your cars, whatever, the stuff you can't bring with you. That's all materialistic and can be replaced. You cannot be replaced. And not only will it affect you, you'll lose your life, potentially, but it'll affect your kids, your brothers, your family. It'll affect everybody around you. So don't be stubborn. If they tell you to evacuate. If you're in the path and they give you a voluntary evacuation, I would pack up and go. I know I would. When I was in Norfolk, when I was stationed in Norfolk, we had Hurricane Matthew coming. Luckily, I was on leave from the military. I was on 2 weeks of leave, and we booked it out of there, buddy. I wasn't taking any chances with my kid, my son at the time. My daughter wasn't born yet, but if you have a chance to leave and you have the resources to leave, evacuate and just pray for the people who can't. Pray for the first responders, for the the police, the EMS, fire guys, all those guys, and women, obviously. Just pray for them and for their safety, and I'll be praying for you guys too. Today we are in John chapter 9. John chapter 9 is not a short chapter, but it's not a long chapter. It's one of those two-topic chapters that we're going to talk about blindness, basically. We're going to talk about spiritual blindness, and we're going to talk about Jesus healing a man who is born blind. So, with that being said, if you have your Bibles, open them up and read along with me. Remember, I'm not a Bible expert, a preacher, pastor, priest, nothing like that. So as I read, and I, tell you if I think a certain scripture or a group of scriptures mean something, and that what I said is wrong, please let me know in the comment section. I want to put out what's right. I want to put out the right information. The only thing that I ask in return is just be respectful about it. And keep it PG, or keep it clean, like language-wise. There's no need for cussing or profanity or vulgarities, nothing like that. So, let's get started. Let's dive right into it. John chapter 9. Jesus heals a man who was born blind. As Jesus was walking along, he saw a man who had been blind from birth. Rabbi, his disciples asked him, "Why is this man blind? Was it because of his own sins or his parents' sins?" Now, what the disciples are asking is, why did a bad thing happen to him? And we often ask ourselves the same question: why do bad things happen to us? And Jesus is going to give us the answer for this case here. And I think it can be similar. I think it could be the same answer for our lives, and the people around us. So let's listen to what Jesus said. It wasn't because of his sins or his parents' sins. So it wasn't because he or his parents did anything wrong. Not saying that they didn't sin, obviously, but he was blind, not because of those things. Jesus answered, "This happened so the power of God could be seen in him." So the power of God could be seen in him. To glorify God. That is why it happened. So God could be glorified. And I think that that's the case for, when bad things happen in our lives, if we're believers. I know that's a tough answer to swallow, but I really feel like some of the things that happen in our lives that are bad are meant to be used to glorify God in whatever way that they can. And I don't understand it. I don't want to even try to understand it. My mind and your mind, we cannot comprehend that, because God is, God is everything. God is almighty, and I don't think there's any other way you can put that. Now, some of the bad things that happen in our lives, I think, are the direct result of our own decisions. But I won't get into that. People are free, especially adults. We're free to make our own choices. and we have to contend with the consequences of those choices, both good and bad. So, but in this case right here, this man was not blind because of something he or his parents did wrong. He was blind so that the power of God could be seen in him. Verse 4, we must quickly carry out the tasks assigned us by the one who sent us. Listen to that. Quickly carry out the tasks assigned to us by the one who sent us. So we are to quickly carry out what we're supposed to do according to God's will. God puts us on this earth, I think, to serve and to do, his will. And when we're guided to do that will, we should do it quickly, swiftly, and do it to the best of our ability. The night is coming, and then no one can work. But while I am here in the world, I am the light of the world. Then he spit on the ground, and he made mud with his saliva, and he spread the mud over the blind man's eyes. He told him, go wash yourself in the pool of Siloam. Siloam meant sent. So the man went and he washed, and he came back, and he was seeing. His neighbors and others knew him as a blind beggar, and then they asked one another, isn't this the man who used to sit and beg? Some said he was, and others said, some said he was, and others said, no, he just looks like him. So they didn't believe it. Some said that he was. They were divided. Some people said that it was the same guy. Some people said that it wasn't. It was a different one who just looked like him. But the beggar kept saying, yes, it is me. It is I. I am the same one. And they asked, who healed you? What happened? Verse 11, he told them, the man they called Jesus made mud, and he spread it across my eyes, and told me to go to the pool of Siloam and wash yourself. And so I went and washed, and now I can see. Praise God. Where is he now? They asked. I don't know, he replied. And then they took the man who had been blind to the Pharisees, because it was on the Sabbath that Jesus had made the mud and healed him. Remember, the Pharisees harped all the time that you weren't supposed to do anything on the Sabbath. You weren't, if your ox fell in the ditch and you picked it up, technically you worked on the Sabbath, you were not supposed to do that. So this was going to give the Pharisees ammunition against Jesus. Not that they could ever do anything, because it wasn't his time yet. But let's read along. Verse 15, the Pharisees asked the man all about it. So he told them, he put the mud over my eyes, and then when I washed it away, I could see. Some of the Pharisees said, this man Jesus is not from God, for he is working on the Sabbath. Others said, but how can an ordinary sinner do such miraculous signs? Oh man, if they only knew who they were talking about at the time. So there was a deep division of opinion among them. Then the Pharisees again questioned the man who had been blind and demanded, what's your opinion about this man who healed you? The man replied, I think he must be a prophet. Verse 18, the Jewish leaders still refused to believe the man had been blind and could now see. So they called in his parents, and they asked him, is this your son? Was he born blind? If so, how can he see? And his parents replied, we know this is our son, and that he was born blind, but we don't know how he can see or who healed him. Ask him. He is old enough to speak for himself. His parents said this because they were afraid of the Jewish leaders, who had announced that anyone saying Jesus was the Messiah would be expelled from the synagogue. So they were expelling people who claimed and believed that Jesus was the Messiah. And that's why they said, he is old enough, ask him. Verse 24, so for the second time they called in the man who had been blind and told him, God should get the glory for this, because we know this man Jesus is a sinner. Oh boy. I don't know whether he's a sinner, the man replied, but I know this, I was blind, and now I see. But what did he do? They asked. How did he heal you? Look, the man exclaimed, I've told you once. Did you not listen? Why do you want to hear it again? Do you want to become his disciples too? Then they cursed him and said, you are his disciple, but we are disciples of Moses. We know God spoke to Moses, but we don't even know where this man comes from. Why, that's very strange, the man replied. He healed my eyes, and yet you don't know where he comes from. We know that God doesn't listen to sinners, but he is ready to hear those who worship him and do his will. Ever since the world began, no one has been able to open the eyes of someone born blind. If this man were not from God, he could not have done it. You were born a total sinner, they answered. Are you trying to teach us? And then they threw him out of the synagogue. So essentially, that's what he did. He taught them. He said, if this man were not from God, he could not have done it. Ever since the world began, no one has been able to open the eyes of someone born blind, but Jesus did it. He made the lame walk. He did a lot of miracles. A lot of miracles, and it's a shame. This is kind of off topic, but kind of like in those days when Jesus would do miraculous signs, and so many people saw it, but still so many people didn't believe because they wanted to see it for themselves. They couldn't accept the testimony of other people. And I really believe that would happen today. When Jesus comes back, when the church is raptured, and the two witnesses come, the two witnesses are going to do miracles, or they're going to, do the the tribulation stuff, hold rain, stuff like that. They're going to do all these things, and people are going to see it. And I really believe that a lot of people are still not going to believe it. They are still not going to believe in God and believe in Jesus Christ. And the two witnesses, they are not going to believe in they're not going to believe it, even when they see it with their own eyes. Even when millions of people from the earth just poof and vanish, when the rapture happens, they're not going to believe it. They're going to, and I cannot comprehend that. But I'm digressing. Let's carry on. Spiritual blindness. That's the name of the next topic. When Jesus heard what had happened, he found the man and he asked, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?" And the man answered, "Who is he, sir? I want to believe in him." "You have seen him," Jesus said, "and he is speaking to you." "Yes, Lord, I believe," the man said. And he worshiped Jesus. And then Jesus told him, "I entered this world to render judgment, to give sight to the blind, and to show those who think they see that they are blind." Some Pharisees who were standing nearby heard him and asked, "Are you saying we're blind?" Verse 41, "If you were blind, you wouldn't be guilty." Jesus replied, "But you remain guilty because you claim you can see." Now that section right there, 35 through 41, let's just look at it one more time. "I entered this world to render judgment," verse 39, "to give sight to the blind, and to show those who think they see that they are blind." Some Pharisees who were standing nearby asked him, "Are you saying we're blind?" Because they didn't see who Jesus was. They could not see because they were, if we think back to how the Pharisees were described and what Jesus said to them, they wanted the gratification of other people. They wanted the glorification of the world. They wanted to, pomp and circumstance type stuff. They didn't want to give God the glory, because that's where the glory belongs. They wanted the glory for themselves and validation from other people. So they were blind. They were blind to who Jesus was and what he was doing. And that's what he's saying there. I entered this world to render judgment, to give sight to the blind, and to show those who think they see. The Pharisees thought they could see, but in fact they were blind. If you were blind, you wouldn't be guilty, but you remain guilty because you claim you can see. And that is chapter 9. Chapter 10, the Good Shepherd and his sheep, and Jesus claims to be the Son of God. Those are the two topics for tomorrow. Now, just really quick, this hurricane is supposed to be here where I am, or I think it's supposed to be like a depression or a storm or something like that, on Saturday, early Saturday morning, 2 a.m. Saturday. That's when it's supposed to be. It actually might, the outer bands might get here Friday, but the center is supposed to be somewhere around here, not my specific area, but the state of Georgia. It's going to cover 3/4 of the state, and my area is going to be in it. With that being said, if it's raining and it's windy and it's rough, I'm probably not going to do a video on Saturday. So I missed Monday because I was sick, and I'm just gonna have to make that up next weekend or something. I'll think of something to do. But I just wanted to let you guys know that. I could have let you know Friday, but I really don't know how the weather's going to play out. I have no idea, and I've got to mow my grass, and I just haven't, like I said, I'm not 100%. I don't quite feel 100%, and man, it's like 100, it's 90 degrees with the heat index of like 100, so I haven't been able to do anything I wanted to do this week because I haven't felt good. But I'm going to try to get on it tomorrow and get ready for this storm. That way all my grass is mowed, all my stuff's weed eated, and I got muscadines I got to pick because they're ripe. Some of them ripe, some of them aren't, but I'm rambling on. I'm sorry again, but I hope you all enjoyed that. I really do. Remember, stay safe if you're on the Carolinas, and if you're not in the Carolinas or on the coast, say a prayer for all of us who are in the pathway of the storm. It doesn't have, major hurricanes. I've been through a bunch. I've been through quite a few, and the wind can be dangerous, yes, but that tends to subside after it gets onto land. But the most dangerous thing can be the flooding, and trust me, when we were in Norfolk and we had a hurricane that wasn't Matthew come, it dumped like 15 inches of rain, and I lived on a flat 1 acre lot, and I mean the water was almost above at the rim of my door frame, and that was a good foot above the ground. So the rain can be the most deadly thing. But again, y'all be safe. I appreciate you watching, and if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. I know I don't think I've ever asked that, but if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. And I will see y'all tomorrow for John chapter 10. So I love y'all. See y'all tomorrow.